Yes? Uh-huh. Absolutely, Your Majesty. Yeah, they're watching now. I'll let them know. Thank you, Your Highness. Dalov. What? Oh, it was Queen Victoria. She asked me to tell you, open quotes, subscribe. Alright, so today is double vintage. Check this out. So I found a recording from 1977, so it's already like old school, but the person being recorded is a Victorian woman who was 108 years old. So she was born in the Victorian era, and now she's going to be interviewed by this lovely lady who's already vintage already. The way it is, this is going to be great. So without further ado, let's just jump right into it. As usual, we're going to listen to the first minute or so, and then I'll begin with a little bit of an analysis, linguistic analysis.
Now let's meet someone who can bring a little history to us. Her name is Mrs. Florence Panel, and she's 108 years old. Unlike most women of her time, Florence Panel managed to set up her own beauty care business. She worked for many years in Paris and in London, and she knows a great deal about fashion. Florence, tell me, was it all right for a lady to show her ankle?
Wow.
In Paris, nothing mattered. But I'm speaking of years before that. Years. When I suppose I was about 10.
Yes.
There was a cartoon in Punch of the old-fashioned bus with the seats going parallel with the bus. And all the men going like this.
I already love her.
Yes. What were they looking for?
There was a woman crossing the road and holding her dress up and showing her ankle to there.
Tut. Florence,
Yes.
tell me a bit about how you managed to start your own beauty business.
No lady worked in those days. It was only a companion or a teacher. She could be a hospital nurse.
Man, I love her. We are halfway through. She is, oh gosh, she's great. I really like her. So anyways, we're going to analyze her speech patterns. We're going to analyze her accent as we have done before. There are some commonalities with the previous recording that we did, of course, where we examined, if you missed it, I'll put a link in the description, where we examined men speaking who were from the Victorian period. In this situation already, this is 1978, she's 108, and my gosh, she's sharp. I want to say she's sharper than me, depending on the day. Regardless, how different the world would have looked to her already. Before we continue, the second half of this will take us to a very interesting section. Before we jump into that one though, I do want to analyze a couple of characteristics of her mannerisms. Also the way she's dressed, very elegant. Look at the stark contrast with the 70s fashion that we see here, which I also like, by the way. I absolutely love the pastel colors. I'll have to do an episode on like 50s to 70s. Even the hairstyle, these are completely different times. But let's review, I think, the first thing that you must have noticed in her accent. Check this out.
Unlike most women of her time, Florence Panel managed to set up her own beauty care business. She worked for many years in Paris and in London, and she knows a great deal about fashion. Florence, tell me, was it all right for a lady to show her ankle?
In Paris, nothing mattered.
In Paris, nothing mattered. So, of course, we have the short vowels. I've already mentioned them so many times, so I'm not going to go into it again. But as usual, we're noticing a slightly trilled R. Today I'm going to go a little more technical than usual. Keep a focus on the R.
But I'm speaking of years before that. Years. When I suppose I was about 10.
Yes.
There was a cartoon in Punch of the old-fashioned bus with the seats going parallel with the bus.
Once again, parallel. And I love the way she pronounces punch. I'll be honest with you, I could listen to her for an hour straight.
And all the men going like this.
Yes.
I love that. It's so, even like, I want to say the girl, even the 70s woman is so feminine. There is a massive distinction. But even the 70s woman, we can tell, still retains. It's different from her, but it's also so distant from us.
What were they looking for?
There was a woman crossing the road.
Crossing the road. Okay, so I think one of the characteristics of at least modern English accent, or should we say more recent English accent, is the fact that it's non-rhotic. Non-rhotic simply means that when an R is found at the end of a word, or when an R is found in between a vowel and a consonant, or in general before a consonant, then that R is usually not pronounced. And she has that already. If you notice that when a word ends with an R, she doesn't pronounce it mattered. She doesn't say mattered, mattered. She doesn't put the R in there. However, when it's at the beginning of a word, and particularly when she wants to put emphasis, she still maintains the rolled R, which is, I mean, we say it's rolled. Technically, it's a vibration. We'll go a little bit deeper on this, a little technical, but it's a voiced alveolar trill. That's the terminology usually we use, and it's represented as an actual R in the IPA, or International Phonetic Alphabet. Now, what's interesting is that this is a remnant of the Victorian period, so it's something that she maintained even all the way up to the 70s, as she's 180 years old. So it's a characteristic of her speech and pronunciation that it was engraven into her mind. Now, what's interesting about the so-called rolled R is the fact that these days we think of it as a characteristic of Italian or Spanish, just to mention a couple. But as you see, not only they absolutely maintained some rolled R's, in fact, very strongly rolled R's at the beginning of words in England in the Victorian period, albeit, as we were saying, in emphatic clause, still they are identical to whatever I would do as an Italian, because, of course, Italian is my first language. And one thing I want to underline about, because I know some people struggle and can't pronounce it. I think the reason why people can't pronounce it is because they don't fully understand how the rolled R works. And the reality is that all you do when you do is, my tongue is actually quite relaxed when I'm doing that sound, which was, she did marvelously, by the way. Great, road, the road, because the vowel is still English though, so road, love it. But what basically happens when I'm doing or when she's doing is that the tongue makes multiple rapid contacts with the alveolar ridge, which is basically this little, as I say, ridge that we have here at the top of the mouth. And then it's the air. We're not actually moving the tongue as a muscle. It's the air that makes it vibrating. And do remember that it's a vocal. This is something you might have not noticed, but it's voiced. I am having my vocal cords vibrate. I could do it without vibration. It would sound, but as far as I know, no language uses that. Isn't that fascinating? Think about it. Ricco, 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 ricco. It sounds so strange if you don't vibrate it. So vibration is part of it too.
And holding her dress up and showing her ankle to there.
Tut.
Tut.
Florence,
Yes.
tell me a bit about how you managed to start your own beauty business.
Please.
No lady worked in those days. It was only a companion or a teacher. She could be a hospital nurse.
I love how she laughs. I mean, that is work, technically. I wonder how we could try and interpret this culturally. Maybe to her, when she says worked, she probably means a man's job. I imagine that's what she's trying to convey.
But not private.
So it was difficult.
Oh, for women, shockingly difficult. I can tell you a story.
Please.
About that. That was also, I think, in Punch.
Punch is the place.
A scraggy woman seated in a chair, little girl playing on the floor, about 4 years old. And an awful-looking man this side in an armchair. Mother, when I grow up, shall I have to be married?
Note how she said mother. It was a th. So she's, of course, using the interdental fricative, th, like in think, though. So it's the unvoiced version rather than Like I would say mother with a th, like in brother, father, the. But she's using the other one. She's saying mother, like in think.
Old. And an awful looking man this side in an armchair. Mother, when I grow up, shall I have to be married? Yes, dear. Shall I have to marry a man like father? Yes, dear. And if I don't marry him, shall I be an old maid like Aunt Eliza? Yes, dear. Silence for me. Say, Mother, it's a hard world for us women, isn't it?
Now she pronounced it mother, so I guess it depends. That was interesting. Oh, she's going to ask her about an airplane. That's interesting. We're going to look into that. I want to focus your attention on the way she pronounces.
Mother, when I grow up, shall I have to be married?
Married. I find it interesting because it's basically merging almost with the adjective merry, like Merry Christmas, meaning happy. Now, given the there is no etymological connection between the two, since to be married comes from maritare in Latin, obviously through Old French and the Norman Conquest, 1066, Battle of Hastings and all of that, so through Old French, but still it's from maritare, which incidentally, it's a word that's maritare, exactly like that, without, for those of you who are interested in classical Latin and the phonemic vowel length, it's both the E and the A, the second R are long, so maritare, they're both long. In modern Italian, it still exists, maritare, but it's mostly in dialects. So like, for instance, in Sicily, where I'm from, we would say te maritaisi to mean, did you get married? But in modern Italian now, the expression would be ti sei sposato. So sposare, like a bit common root as spouse, right? So yeah, the Sicilian is more linguistically conservative when it comes to that and still connected to Latin. In this case, however, so this word comes from Latin, but the word merry that we use in Merry Christmas instead it has a Germanic root. What's interesting is that the way she pronounces them, though, they basically sound the same, whereas in modern English, at least English, because of course it depends on the accent, I would say to be married. So marry rather than merry, happy, right? So I hope you be, merry marriage. We should say merry marriage.
Have you ever been in an aeroplane?
Never.
Would you like to?
I shouldn't mind now, but I wouldn't when they first came in. I never fancied them. But I would now because I'm more venturesome.
I think you've been very adventurous right through your life.
Yeah.
What's the biggest change of all you've seen?
The biggest change? Everything. Nothing is the same. Everything is changed.
Tell me about it. She's absolutely right. And I love even the way the 70s lady pronounced airplane.
Have you ever been in an aeroplane?
Aeroplane. She literally pronouncing it aeroplane. I know that that's how you normally spell it in England, but I believe the people, at least I pronounce it airplane, and I did pick up my English in the UK, but I'm not native. So do let me know if I'm in fact pronouncing it in a kind of a hybrid way, or if in fact modern English vernacular now has completely evolved the pronunciation from aeroplane to airplane. Do let me know, because I'm actually curious to know that. And yeah, no, she's adventurous. I mean, my mum was always scared of airplanes too, so I can understand a person from... I think we're all, in a way, reluctant. Not all of us, but a lot of us tend to be reluctant to adopting new technology. For instance, I mean, I can look at this and smile, have a little giggle and say, haha, and she, Victorian period, so she was afraid of the machines, so she didn't want to get into the airplane. I can do that, but then again, I cannot stand TikTok. So at the end of the day, yeah, I mean, someone watching me complain about TikTok on a video in 100 years, they might think, oh wow, look at this guy born in the 1900s, because I mean I was in the 1980s. So yeah, everything is relative, isn't it? This was great, she's lovely, and I wish I could have met her in person. That's how I'm gonna end it. But thank you very much for watching, noble ones. If you liked this video, let me know, and thanks for joining Metatron's Academy. Goodbye.